Now, in other news, as many as 400,000 children could starve to death in Somalia unless urgent action is taken to tackle the famine. The warning was delivered by Andrew Mitchell, the first British minister to visit the capital for 18 years. Islamic countries have pledged $350 million for the famine victims. Well, the UN's humanitarian chief has just returned from a 3-day visit to Somalia and Kenya. Baroness Valerie Amos says with more than 12 million people in the wider region needing food and help, the aid efforts need to be scaled up and urgently. And she's on the line now from New York. Baroness Amos, thank you very much for speaking to BBC Newsday. You've just come back from Somalia, a desperate situation there.
It is absolutely desperate. And when you see the children who are severely malnourished, when you see the women who have fled from parts of the country which are controlled by Al-Shabaab to Mogadishu because they want to get access to food and urgent medical supplies, camps have sprung up all over the city. Nearly 100,000 people have moved from other parts of Somalia into Mogadishu just in the last month. But we also need to remember that in south central Somalia, which is controlled by Al-Shabaab, there are 2.2 million people who need our help and support. So this is a very urgent crisis. I'm very grateful to our partners, including the British government, who have done so much to provide the urgent money that we need, but we absolutely need more.
As you say, the conflict in the country is hampering aid relief efforts. How do you negotiate? How do you talk to Al-Shabaab to ensure that aid is reaching those people who desperately need it?
Well, it's very important to remember that there are a number of organizations who have been operating in Shabaab-held territory for many years. The independent organization, the International Committee for the Red Cross, the ICRC, UNICEF, other NGOs who are our partners have been operating there. And of course, what has allowed them to continue is that they get the support of the local communities. They work through the local communities. They've gained the acceptance and the trust of those communities, and that's how they are able to stay working. And we need to work with them to make sure that they are able to scale up their efforts to help to meet the needs of those people who so desperately need it.
And of course, it's easy to speak with hindsight, but why was this situation not being monitored? How has this been allowed to happen? We're seeing these images once again in the region.
I think we are all horrified that we have got to a situation of famine in Somalia. It is not that we did not know that there would be a drought. We did. In fact, we started our appeal for Somalia last year. But the depth and scale of this has been devastating. And of course, the conflict has had a huge impact here because the conflict has been ongoing in Somalia for the last 20 years. It's prevented people in recent times from being able to plant. It's prevented people from being able to sell their goods. So there are a huge number of issues that we have to deal with. And if you look at other parts of the Horn of Africa, Kenya and Ethiopia, for example, who are also facing a situation of drought, they have millions of people who are affected but are not facing the famine conditions which you have in Somalia. And we think that that is partly because they have longer-term strategies that they have put in place, which are beginning to yield some results because they're beginning to build the resilience of communities that are facing a whole range of shocks.
OK, Baroness Amos, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much. Baroness Amos, who's just returned from Somalia and Kenya with the latest there. Now, Rico, you have a development on the story of anti-corruption protests in India.